So why don't we start? 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Lynn, public participation. Is there anybody who wishes to engage in public participation? I hear and see no one. Okay.
Trying to figure out why this one. There you go.
It kind of
wasn't going full screen, but here it is.
Still isn't for mine.
Does everybody see it full screen?
Nope.
Split screen, Lynn.
What?
It's a split screen.
I don't know why that's the case. Hold on. Not good at this.
You've only had 2 years to practice.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is.
Well, we can get through the agenda with certainly half screen.
Lynn, if you can pull the if you can put your cursor on the kind of the rectangle right beside the page numbers 1 of 9 and pull that screen over, you should be able to enlarge it so that it takes up your full screen.
It shows full screen on mine. That's why I can't. I think. Does that work?
No.
Maybe unshare and reshare, Lynn.
Okay, that's a good idea. How's that?
There you go.
Okay, full screen.
Now I'm just saying Lynn.
This is from a Luddite here.
I can see it.
You can see it, Joe?
Yeah.
I literally see Lynn's face, which is
you got it.
Which is wonderful full screen.
I think close your people gallery, maybe.
Close my people gallery.
I don't know the right words.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's perfect on my end.
It says I'm viewing your screen.
Right. If you look in the upper right hand corner, Chip, it'll say view.
Yeah.
And then if you click on that, it will say gallery. Right. It'll say side.
Always a teacher, aren't you?
If you click,
my wife helping me now, I should be good.
Side by side gallery.
Side by side gallery.
50%. That's what you want to view, side by side gallery. Right there.
Okay. Now I see side by side gallery. I give up. Go ahead. I'll keep playing.
The first thing is administrative actions and review.
There we go.
April 7th, 2022, Permanent Building Committee meeting minutes regarding the public safety building. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the April 7th, 2022 minutes as written.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Are there any oppositions to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Second is review of the April 2022 invoices.
I move that we approve left field invoice number 18 for the sum of $18,500.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And myself, it's unanimous.
I move that we approve bond building invoice number 4 dated 4/30/22 for the sum of $483,541.81.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it's unanimous.
Next on the agenda is bonds change order number 3. It consists of several PCOs. They're listed here on the screen. Buyout savings from an overrun reconciliation, which was 0 amount. Unbought scope, building signage, 0. Also deletion of fire extinguisher cabinets for a credit of $2,139. Floor changes at the dispatch office for $3,723. Abatement work, $0. And brace framing reconfiguration for $3,042, and removal of asphalt at existing entryway for $2,942, for a total change order amount of $7,568.
So Lynn, do we have backup for all of these?
Yes, they were included in your packets.
Can you go to the one with floor changes at dispatch? I'd like to know what the original scope was, and then and this should be just the differential, correct?
Yes, I just
That's
give me
correct.
a second to open it up. This may prove to be difficult, but
Chip, while Lynn is doing that, originally we had carpet in that space.
Correct. Yeah.
And the request was made. It's a very lived-in space, and
Oh no, I'm totally fine with the decision. I'm curious about the price. I want to know what the real price is versus what the credit was for the carpet.
you bet.
This is Phil. I have a question while she's looking that up. Can someone confirm if this floor, it looks like in the drawing that's in the backup, shows carpet in the bathroom?
It does.
I would assume, okay. And are we really putting carpet in a bathroom?
I think this change, Phil, changes everything too.
Well, that was my question, because the red circle on the change order doesn't show that the bathroom is included in this change, Chip. So that's sort of my leading to that, is that I don't believe we would want, or nor would any office want to have carpet in their bathroom or home.
Or home.
We'll put it that way. Yeah. So I don't know. So that needs to be, I didn't notice this earlier. I just noticed it tonight looking through that, or I would have brought it up. So
Phil, I cannot.
Thanks.
That is not part of this change, but that was picked up earlier with between Dario and HKT, and changed because we don't want carpet in the bathroom.
can you see the screen now?
Yes.
So the original was for $1,315, and that was for carpeting. And then to delete the carpeting and add a non-static linoleum is $4,790.
And that is part of what's driving the $4,790 is it's static dissipative tile, the material and the glue.
Okay, and they have that now. The VCT that's up there is non-static.
I'm not aware, Chip.
So my question is, does it need? But anyway, don't we want this to be all inclusive and not get another little one for the bathroom coming back at us? Don't we want to make this just one change order?
I'm pretty sure we don't have Dario with us tonight, but
which is okay.
I do understand that was I heard of this earlier, and I believe it was changed as a no-cost change. It was a mistake. HKT did not intend to make that a carpeted area, and it was changed.
The floor schedule included it as a tile.
In the submittal process.
Okay, all right. And what is the removal of asphalt at the existing entryway?
So I'll speak to that too, Chip. So during excavation, when we pulled up the area that's right in front of the main entrance, there was an area of asphalt underneath there that was unforeseen. So that cost is for 3 labor days for the JDC Dorenzo the site contractor to chip it up, and there's costs in there for a dumpster to recycle the material.
How big an area was it? 3 days?
Yeah, I don't know if that's in the backup, but
it looked like about the whole lobby area.
Yeah, it went all the way inside the building, Chip.
Was it 3 days or is it 3 guys for a day? So it ends up being 3 days.
It's the latter. 3 labor days, 24 hours.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
I feel better about that. Not that I don't think whenever you put 3 guys on something, one does as much, but
yeah, we saw this we saw this the other day, Chip. It's a pretty good expanse of asphalt in the middle of everything. So
okay. And did Mark approve this and saw that there were 24 hours actually spent on this?
Yes.
Just for process, a point on process, Chip, before we bring any of these to this committee, the design team reviews it first. Actually, I'll step back. Bond Brothers reviews it before they submit it. Then the design team reviews it, make sure that it's fair. Like this one in particular is marked up. And then lastly, Left Field reviews it. And then we sit with the permanent building committee on every other Tuesday.
Yeah. No, I just asked a simple question. I know the process.
Okay.
Does Mark see these or is it you guys doing it?
He sees them as well.
Okay, that was my question.
Any
these are eyes and ears, and your eyes and ears as well. So
oh yeah, Mark LaFleur, of course.
I didn't see these. I didn't see this in the note in any of his progress reports. That's all. I saw a picture of it,
right?
But I didn't see the hours or anything. Okay, thank you.
I think it
happened. Any questions regarding change order number 3?
Can we go back to the screen that has the change order?
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right. And somewhere, do we have a breakout of what our what does this do to contingency and where
yes,
we're at?
Actually, I have a budgeted update coming up that'll show that.
After all the change orders are done?
Yeah, after we go through all the budget changes.
I move that we approve this change order number 3 for the sum of $7,568.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
And myself, unanimous. Next.
Next on the agenda is procurement update. We have 3 proposals that have been reviewed and we are asking for approval from the PBC on, and that's the office furniture for $149,437.82. The dispatch equipment, and I'll let Adam explain the change that we made from Cybercom to Allcom, but that one's for $163,733, and then the IP radios for $18,073.08. So, Adam, if you want to talk a little bit about the change from Cybercom to Allcom, and
yeah, Lynn, I'm just going to start with a quick note on the furniture buy. So the furniture buy there, $149,437. Our budget was $180, and we worked very closely with the police department. And thank you very much to them for helping us do some reductions. We were looking for some value engineering opportunities, and we're pretty happy with that number compared to the budget. But a lot of credit is due to the police department for helping us get there. So that's one. Second one is Allcom, the dispatch equipment. So we previously presented to this committee a proposal for dispatch equipment through another vendor, and working with the police department and the town's IT group, we realized, unfortunately, after that it was incomplete. and there was a lot of research put in, again, by the police department, by the IT group, and I was a part of that as well. And we found another vendor, Allcom. We worked very carefully to make sure that we got the scope correct. The previous scope that we had was we didn't have enough licenses. No, I'm sorry, we were oversold on licenses and we didn't have enough channels. And we made sure that we got that correct on the second proposal. So that proposal is approximately $13,000 higher than the other proposal that we were presenting, but it is the correct scope, is what I can say. I could stop right there, or I could move on to the Allcom IP radios if anybody has any questions.
Just as soon have you go through all of it, because.
All right. Okay. So the last item, the last item we have in technology is the Allcom IP radios. This was some missing technology scope that we uncovered. What this is these are handsets, kind of like a phone, that police offices have in their offices that allows the police officers in their offices to talk to police on their radios instead of talking radio to radio. This is a technology that they have presently, but it was not one that was accommodated for technology-wise in the new design. So I guess what I can say is we are the technology. We had a couple of hits over budget, but we were fortunate enough to make some savings in furniture. And the net result is we still came in on budget between the two items.
So what I'm looking, okay. And the overall FF&E budget you have down here is 0?
That's right.
On just this?
No, it's so.
Or are we done with FF&E?
Well, so we're done with, there's a few other miscellaneous items. We're gonna have gun cabinets, but those will fit within an allowance shown right there, that $18,000 allowance. Yeah. We have some misappliances. We think we are gonna have some savings there, Chip, but we still wanna hold that for a couple of, maybe a new refrigerator or a microwave. And then we have some technology items. Lynn's cursor is on it below: TV monitors, cameras, WAPs, and security devices. If you remember, the town is going to be self-performing a lot of IT. And this is where that'll be funded from.
Okay, okay. So you're not asking for an approval on all of this at this time. You're just asking for an approval on furniture, dispatch equipment from Allcom, and IP radios from Allcom.
That is correct.
Okay. I was concerned that we were out of money for FF&E and we were approving the whole 236.
No, just trying to show you how we're tracking against the budget.
I got it. Thank you. And I know there's been lots of conversations. I'm going to ask the question because I have to. Are we comfortable, for all the people that have been involved, that this is exactly what's needed and the right companies to do it? And we're not going to hear down the road, oops, we forgot XYZ.
I can say that confidently, yes. Lieutenant Scott, Todd from Town's IT group, myself, we've been through this very carefully.
No, I know you have. So that just, as long as yes is the answer, I'm comfortable.
Yeah, we did invite Todd tonight.
Todd is on.
And if you'd like to hear from Todd as well.
Nope, I just need to hear yes, that's all.
All right.
Because I'll remember what I heard.
It's a yes from me.
All right, any more questions regarding furniture, technology, and security procurement update?
I just have a question on the furniture. I guess the same type of question that Chip just asked. I know it's probably less involved in the IT stuff, but it's a pretty big chunk of underspending on the budget on the furniture for, outfitting the police department? Are we reusing a lot of current stuff? Like, how do we cut out 30 grand, like 15, 20% of the budget? That's a pretty big number.
Well, I can start by saying the budget was 180 and we came in at about 172,000. So just kind of off the bat, we came in a little better than projected. So that's one. We had some ideas on how to cut some scope. We brought in the police department and the design team. We had probably a 2.5 hour working meeting. We went room by room through this. There's a couple of items that are reused. There was an extra workstation that was, a future workstation that was eliminated. There were some chairs that were used in the training room, and
file cabinets.
Yep, some file cabinet savings. I'd let this police department speak for themselves, but I don't think there was a lot of hard choices there. I think it's largely all new stuff. And
okay, fair enough. Thank you.
While we're at it, Chief Scory, I know, is on, and also Deputy Chief Craig Reese. Are you, the two of you, satisfied with this proposal for the office furniture, the dispatch, and the IP radios?
We are, Joe. There was a lot of some things were missed. A lot of credit goes to Lieutenant Rebelay and Todd Bowden for finding those things and making this work. So thank you to both of them, and to Adam as well.
And we think we got everything that we need now, right?
We do. We're confident, and
okay.
We're making it work.
All right. And the good news is, if there's money left at the end and we're fitting out stuff and you need a file cabinet here or there, then you get it. But this will at least get us up and running.
Chip, these meetings are recorded. Everyone just heard that.
Yeah, that's fine. And trust me, if there's money left over at the end, it will get spent.
Right. It will be. Yeah.
Yeah. So I move that we approve the environments at work furniture for $149,437.82. I'm going to do them one at a time.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Tom. Any further questions on the office furniture? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
And it's unanimous. And I want to add one further thing. I know that Phil Renzi spent hours with this, and I applaud his efforts.
I spent hours listening, but I was going to applaud the police department for them really spending so much time going through this about 4 different times. They really got this down. I know it was tough decisions on some of the seemingly little stuff, but they spent a lot of time on it. So thanks to them for working through it.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, that's enough self-congratulations for everybody.
I move that we approve the invoice for Allcom for the dispatch equipment for the sum of $163,733.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
And myself, unanimous.
I move that we approve Allcom's invoice for IP radios for the sum of, or proposal for the sum of $18,073.08.
Second.
Any further discussion on the IP radios? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
And myself, unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is where we stand with the budget. We have committed 90% of the budget and expended 15%. We have $275,651 left in the construction contingency and $133,958 within the owner's contingency for a total of $409,609.
And that's with assuming that we approved everything tonight.
That's approving change order 3 and the invoices. It has not committed the furnishing and technology proposals yet. However, we're definitely still within budget, so we didn't have to make any budget transfers for that.
Okay.
Any questions regarding the budget update?
I would just say to Adam and Dario, if there are contingency, we're so tight here that when there's a PCO come up or something else, would love to know the cost and then what's left, right? We need to know whether it's an owner or construction. And then, you know, the next question is always going to be, because I can't remember that, you know, we have 134,000. So it will be, okay, what's left in our contingency once we spend this 30 or whatever.
So this is only our external contingencies. There's still the GMP contingency that's not represented on this budget. It's within the GMP amount.
No, that's fine. It's just, we have to track it like to the penny.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think as we all know, this is a very tight budget and we have to be very cognizant of all of these, any and all change orders. And I asked about 100 questions on the IP radios. And we will continue to be asking questions. We don't mean to be in any way questioning anybody, but we have to be very conscientious. So I'm just forewarning of people that regarding any change orders. Okay.
Like, can I just ask a timing process question on the spending of the contingency? You know, we've used up on the construction side like 62,000 of it. At this point in a project, you know, is using close to, that's like 20% of the dollars. Is that about where we would expect to be? Are we overshooting, you know, this early into the project, what the contingency usage would be? Just from past experience on projects, I guess I'm wondering.
Well, right now we're at 8% of the construction according to expenditures. So that 20% would be over that 8%.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, John, is the hope is, you know, out of the 60 that was spent, there's been that has come out of the construction contingency has been scope misses, right? So it hasn't really been. So we're hoping that the buyout, if you may, is pretty much done. So scope misses shouldn't be around anymore.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, Lynn.
Next, and I'm going to turn it over to Dave Capaldo, but I just threw some pictures here so that when he talks about construction progress, you can kind of get a glimpse as to what's been going on.
Thanks, Lynn. So sort of big picture, over the past few weeks, primarily our activity has been selective demolition throughout the phase, well, I'll call it phase 1 area, the lobby renovation area, and also in preparation for the addition. We've, as you can see in some of the photos, we've been saw cutting slabs to make way for the new plumbing connections, and we've taken out the raised slab in the garage. And the sort of most challenging item so far has been the original bump out to the building where the addition's going. That's quite a bit more robust than anybody anticipated, and that's been quite a challenge to get that prepped for removal. And I think we'll get back at it in a different approach first of the week. We've also started hauling off the soils from the initial excavation for the addition. That's now underway. I would say overall, the work inside the building is progressing very well. And the work at the addition is lagging a little bit behind because of the unforeseen robustness of that bump out, but not yet on the critical path for any concern, but things are going pretty well so far.
Dave, it's Wayne. Just a quick question. Have any surprises as far as asbestos abatement? Any surprises there?
No surprises. The only abatement that we encountered was at that bump out. The base flashing between the foundation and the brick was hot, and very simple procedure to get rid of it. So that was, I think that was removed, and I want to say it was removed the other day, a couple days ago.
Has everybody been notified about that inside?
Yeah, it was understood. It was it's non-friable. It's very easy removal. It's just a coating on the insulation, on the flashing, so doesn't have any, you know, it's not friable unless you're cutting into it. So easy removal. And the hygienist was on site during that from the design team.
And Wayne, I'll just add, it's we filed all the necessary DEP paperwork. It's highly regulated, and
I know.
We'll have all the associated paperwork about cradle to the grave.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions regarding the construction update? All right, Lynn, look ahead. Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
I could just speak real quick. Going forward the next couple of weeks, we've shared this obviously at every weekly meeting. We share an update with the staff and all the attendees at the construction meeting, but just this is an excerpt from that. Moving forward, we're going to finish the removal of that bump out that we've encountered. That was quite a bit challenging, but that's now on its way out. Next week it should be gone. We'll finish the excavation and getting ready for the foundation work at the addition. We are looking over the next couple of weeks to mobilize for the first round of micropiles at the lobby addition, the vestibule addition at the lobby, and in getting ready for placing the mat slab at the addition. So right now it's full steam ahead to get prepped for the addition in the foundation and to continue with all the renovation work at the lobby. It's our big picture for the next couple of weeks.
Any questions or comments? If anybody wants to see the stairway that used to be in front of that, it's in the Wakefield 350 book. I looked it up, and there was the stairway leading all the way up to the 1950s. So just in case you have fond memories of that.
So it looks like they took an entire load of concrete and dumped it in that hole.
Correct. It went all the way down. All the way down. It's huge.
Yep.
Lynn?
That's it for the public safety building. So
okay.
If we're ready to move forward with.
Well, not yet. Hang in there. Chief Scory, do you have anything?
No, we had our construction meeting this week. We went over what to expect next week, and Bond left field and really good with communications.
Okay. Craig?
No, all set. Everything's going okay. Thanks.
Chief Sullivan?
Oh, fire's all set. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Chief. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Now we'll go on to the high school.
Or I'm going to have a problem again. Sorry.
All right. Everybody take a break.
Gosh.
Where's the Jeopardy music that should be playing?
What happens is when I put it up there, it goes away. Okay, let's try it now. Can you see it?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, great. First on the agenda is approval of the April 7th Permanent Building Committee and School Building Committee meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the April 7th meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Any objections to the minutes? They're approved.
Lynn, I have a question procedurally. Do you send all these to the MSBA? What happens with your reporting?
Okay, so we don't usually send the meeting minutes until we're submitting a submission. So if you noticed in the preferred schematic report, you would have seen all of the permanent building and school building committee meeting minutes that were associated with the time frame of the preferred schematic report.
Okay, thank you.
You will be getting a monthly report packet that will include the meeting minutes for the month, you know, the meetings that we had, where we stand with the budget, all of that. You probably remember it from other projects, but we will be putting that packet out, and we report. It'll also have a copy of the reporting that we provide to MSBA on a monthly basis.
All right. Lynn, the next is designer contract amendment number 1.
I think invoices first, right?
Yeah. And
okay, I was looking at an old.
You love to jump ahead. I know.
Well, you know. All
right.
right.
I move that we approve OPM feasibility.
That was me. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep. That's okay. OPM feasibility payment not approved. I move that we approve the OPM feasibility study, now that I can see it, from Left Field invoice number 12, dated 4/30/22, for the amount of $30,580.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the OPM feasibility study? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
And myself, unanimous.
I move that we approve SMMA's invoice 0056793 for the sum as part of A&E feasibility study for the sum of $71,500.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Phil? John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
Phil? We lost Phil.
And we need Phil.
We have to have Phil.
I just texted him.
Okay. You get a response, John?
Not yet.
Looks like he's coming back in.
Okay, do you see him?
Yeah, I see Renzi Bulger.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason it's not coming up. Phil? No bathroom breaks are allowed during these meetings.
I think he was paying invoices.
I think he was transitioning from his car to his house, perhaps.
And then he got intercepted by children.
He's connecting to audio now.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Sorry about that.
That's all right, Phil. No problem. We need your vote on the A&E feasibility study for $71,500.
Yes. Yes. My vote is yes.
Thank you.
I move that we approve the I move that we approve the SMMA environmental and site portion of invoice 00566793 dated 4/27 for the sum of $4,408.25.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Skip?
Yes.
And it's unanimous for myself as well. All right, Lynn?
I'm going to jump over to the contract amendment 1 for SMMA. I think it was dropped out of the presentation, but this was a result of the phase 1 environmental site assessment recommending that we do additional investigations, phase 2 investigations in the areas of the underground fuel oil storage tank. And this is the proposal for doing that. And the cost is $57,530.
And why is there a recommendation to go to phase 2 at this point, as compared to save the 57 and just when we get into construction, deal with it?
Well, actually, Erin is here tonight. I'll let her speak to the relevance of doing this now.
Yeah, so this is really important scope that we need to perform now. It can't wait until after we establish a budget for construction. Part of the recommendation that ADS Environmental had out of the phase 1 report was to perform additional testings, a testing program, and to analyze groundwater and soil associated with these oil tanks. And why this is so critical is because it will understand cost to export soil during construction. So the sooner we know this information, the better we're informed as far as developing a budget for construction.
Okay, and what budget is this coming out? What line item budget is this coming out of?
We have another contingency that I'll show you.
But didn't we have a testing line item, or was it way too small?
Well, in this feasibility schematic design phase, we only have 4 budget lines. We have the OPM feasibility study line, the AE study line, the environmental and site line, and an other contingency line. So we have pulled out of the other contingency and moved it to the environmental and site line to take care of these costs.
And I'll show you that leave us in the other contingency.
We'll go through it, but it's roughly 400 around. You'll see the exact amount in a later slide, but it's around 400.
And we didn't get an original price on this because we didn't think it was going to be necessary, or?
That's right. We don't know until we perform the phase 1, which is essentially historical research of how the site has been used over time. And so once you perform the phase 1, only then do you realize any potential realize the need for any additional testing.
Do we think there's any, after this, do we think there's any other testing that's going to be recommended, or any other polls from contingency regarding testing of soils or getting ready to do the next level of planning?
I think there may be. This phase includes testing of soil and groundwater. And so we're testing it because we don't know what's there. Depending on what results come in, how those samples are analyzed, I suppose it could result in some additional recommendations for further testing or remediation or whatnot.
But other than these tanks, there's not something else that people are thinking need to be looked at, or
not that we know
asbestos or something else?
I can't speak to the building. This is just for site. This is just for soil and groundwater.
Yeah, and the asbestos was covered in another report. We feel like we have a handle on what's there and what it'll cost to remediate.
This is Phil. I got a question about the GPR. There's some assumption that this tank is under the existing, could be under the generator area. Do we think this tank's big enough that the radar will pick it up if it's not right over it? Does technology work rather broadly, or is it very straight on how they radar down into the ground?
No, that's the hope that this radar will pick up what we're looking for.
Even if it's not directly under where the radar is, because something else is over it.
I suppose there's always a chance, yeah, but you know, the hope is that this will pick up what we need to find. Yep.
I guess the contingency, if it doesn't pick up anything, yet we all assume that there's a tank somewhere, just not to get too far ahead, just wondering what the next step would be for this, for something like this, if you can't find it with this money or with this attempt, I mean.
What the next step would be, I'm sorry, for what?
Potentially,
if you can't find it, if this GPR happens and you don't find anything,
like you don't find the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
we would.
Tank's there.
We would develop a contingency plan. Yeah, we'd plan for the worst, and then have to deal with it during construction when we find it, if we find it. But right now it's all about gathering information and planning. And so the more information we can collect, hopefully we can locate it. We can analyze the soil, the groundwater, and so we can plan appropriate steps during construction for remediation if needed.
Phil, I'll just add, you know, the GPR will pick up different densities in the ground. And if you're, unless it's like tucked under the building or something, you'll find that void that is the tank. And you know, the only other way to find it after that would be to you know, open X and look for the limits, but I don't think you'll have to get to that point.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments regarding this amendment?
I guess the other question I have is if they only find that they need to put in 3 wells because it says up to 6, is there credit at that point, or am I dreaming?
We could follow up. I'm not sure the credit would be much. It's essentially putting a pipe into the ground and having a cap on the top. So the work is really with getting the equipment to the site and drilling into the ground. But we could follow up on that.
Yeah, you'll own the boring rig for the day.
Right.
I move that we, what is this called again, Lynn?
Contract amendment number 1.
Is it number 1?
Yes.
I move that we approve contract amendment number 1 for the sum of $57,530.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Lynn, do we need this budget revision request number 3?
Yes.
And that is a motion?
Yes.
And that's to move the 57,300?
Yes, from the other contingency to environmental insight.
You have a sheet on that, Lynn, or not?
It's just approve a budget.
No, that's it right there.
Request number 3.
Yeah, I move that we approve the feasibility study budget revision request number 3 as outlined here in the request.
Yes, and after this move, we end up with $361,096 left in the other contingency.
Can I hear a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's unanimous.
So this shows us again that we have $361,096 left in the other contingency, and we are 40% expended on the budget with 82% of the budget committed. We have a fairly healthy contingency for this phase of the project.
And if we don't spend it all in, where does the balance go?
We could move it into the next phase of the project.
Thank you.
just to give you a little bit of an update from the public forum that we had last night, we gave an overview of the 3 options that we have been looking at and costing during the preferred schematic report phase of the project. We also gave a pretty in-depth presentation on cost, what the town share would be, what the tax impacts would be based on the town share. And we also talked a little bit about ineligible costs and why the costs were ineligible from MSBA. Bottom line, we came down to, even though we ended up with a 53.94% reimbursement rate after incentives, we ended up with a 26.16% effective reimbursement rate when we apply all of the ineligible costs that MSBA will not participate in reimbursement on. I passed out to all of you a copy of the presentation prior to the forum. So I don't know, we can, if any of that you want to revisit, we can certainly do that. I think I just quickly gave an overview here of what the MSBA share will potentially be, as well as the town share and what we're estimating the total project cost to be, which results in the $1.56 per thousand of assessed residential property value. But also on our website is the presentation from last night, and it goes into more depth about the value of the home and what the actual tax impact would be on a yearly basis, assuming appreciation of property as the years go by.
Lynn, I wasn't able to make it last night. Was there a decent number of attendants, or do you know how many people zoomed in?
We had 34 people that attended, and about half of those were people that weren't necessarily associated with the project.
Gotcha.
So we received a lot of questions, both on design, a few on cost, but more on design. Smma did a very nice presentation and, you know, renderings of what the project might look like, the new construction might look like. And these are a few of the renderings that were done, but several people had high compliments on the, they had a model that they were able to spin around and show the building from various viewpoints. And I think people started to get a really good feel for what the building would look like.
Jonathan, you had a question?
Yeah, first of all, Lynn, the 3D model was really cool last night. It was nice to see. The 34 people, were those the folks just on the Zoom meeting? I know it was
right
on Facebook Live as well, and I don't know if we have a sense as to how many watched it via that channel.
It was also on WCAT.
Yes, it was on WCAT. It was streamed on both WCAT's Facebook as well as the project's Facebook page. I know that we got some questions from Facebook, but I don't know what the participation was from the Facebook events.
Okay, thanks.
In terms of numbers.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the public forum and overall cost? All right. Next, Lynn.
I'm going to turn it, let's see, I think we have one more thing actually under this before I turn it over to Smma to give an update on some of the design elements. We do have the preferred schematic report. You should have all received a draft copy on April 21st to review. This is just the table of contents of that report that we need to make to MSBA We need to submit it by May 4th, and the contents really just reviews where we've been over this past phase from the PDP through PSR. It also gives an update on existing conditions of the existing school, as well as some more in-depth discussion or narrative on the three choices that we ended up evaluating further in the preferred schematic report. And that was the code upgrade, which is a requirement by MSBA, as well as the renovation addition option and the new construction option. It also has an in-depth look at costs for all three and a comparison of those. MSBA then focused on, digging in deeper on the preferred solution, which was the option 3, new construction on the Beasley Oval. And it goes through a narrative on that, as well as how it relates to the educational program, the final space summary, and it also includes our responses to MSBA's PDP comments as well. There's discussion on sustainability. There's building plans, site plans, all included in that section. And then there's a section on the budget, and this is where we talk about what our estimated total construction costs are, which I just showed you on that previous slide, as well as what the town's funding capacity is, what other municipal projects that they have in progress or that are planned. MSBA wants to know that you're not just giving up every other project in town to build this high school. They want to know how the high school fits in with other capital improvement needs in the town. And then it also asks for what the local process for authorization and funding is. So there's a narrative on that, and as well as a pretty in-depth look at what the estimated impact to local property taxes are. Steve Mayo and his team at Town Hall put together a bunch of information that is included in this section as well. Also, the district put together their budget statement for the district and how the high school impacts that budget. MSBA really wants to see that the district can afford a new school once it's built, both from a staffing perspective and a maintenance and operations perspective. We updated the project schedule with some of the milestones that changed, and that's included in there. And then this is the section that has all of the local actions and approvals. This is the section that lists all the meetings that we had to get to this point, as well as included all of the meeting minutes, presentations, public forums, all that are in this section. So that's, in a nutshell, the contents of the preferred schematic report. Does anybody have any questions on the draft that they saw, or any questions in general on the preferred schematic report?
I would just comment that I thought it was exceptionally well done, well presented, thoughtful. I think it summarized all of the meetings, and I know it's not an easy thing to pull together, so I commend the team for doing a really nice job on it, all players involved.
Are there any other questions or comments?
You need a vote accepting this, right?
To send it to the MSBA, correct?
Yes, we do need a vote to approve and submit to MSBA.
So, Mr. Chair, upon the conversation, upon review of the PSR, content, project costs, and tax input that we have seen for the preferred schematic report review that was presented to us by SMMA, dated April 21st, 2022. I move that we give them permission to send it along, that we accept it and give them permission to send it to the MSBA.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Any discussion? I know we all read all 700 pages, right?
I read the
Bill?
summaries.
Same here. Bill?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
And myself, it's unanimous.
Once we put together the final packet and send it into MSBA on May 4th, we will post it to the project website. So anybody that wants to go and take a look at it, it'll be available there to take a look at.
Are you creating any hard copies, Lynn?
You will receive I think last time we did a couple of hard copies to Town Hall. So yes.
Perfect. Yeah, that would be my request.
Yeah, it's one to the district and one to Town Hall.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over. This is just a review of what we went over before.
Yeah, get that off the screen.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Smma for their design update.
Yeah, I don't think we necessarily have an update on the design. I think we did want to talk about Hemlock Road and permitting. But if anyone does have any questions on design, I understand you haven't read all 770 pages of the PSR.
Oh, are you saying we didn't?
You just said.
Did anybody read who in your team, Helen, read every 700?
That would be me.
Okay, as long as one person did.
I had 138. I did 138.
Well, thank you.
All right.
We appreciate your participation, but if there aren't, unless there are questions on the design, what we presented last night and what's in the PSR is where we stand right now. We did have an issue that we did want to bring before this group around Hemlock Road. And so our
are we going to talk about next steps too at some point, Lynn? Is that coming up?
At the end, we'll review the schematic design timeframe, but at the next meeting, we'll get more into depth into the work.
I want to ask some questions about next steps and process, so I'll wait.
Okay.
Yeah, with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Erin to talk about Hemlock.
Yeah, so I was hoping to talk with you all a little bit tonight on MIPA and their review process for certain kinds of projects. So if you don't know, MIPA is a state office. It stands for the Massachusetts Environment Protection Act, and they have jurisdiction over certain kinds of projects. It's reviewed at the state level. It's a state office. They have jurisdiction over certain projects that trip thresholds relating to land impacts, transportation impacts, wetland impacts, water, wastewater, energy, and the list goes on. If you Google MIPA thresholds, you'll find a list of all sorts of different types of environmental impacts that require filing with MIPA. How MIPA works is that there's kind of two levels of filing. So within their regulations, you'll find that either thresholds trip the ENF, which is an environmental notification form. It's the lighter version of the filing, or depending on your impact, you might pass into the EIR, which is an environmental impact report. It's a heavy permit filing. EIR touches essentially every single aspect of the environment that you could think of, including building and its energy use, the construction phase, dust, air, everything that you could imagine is this very robust filing to the state. I said the ENF is like the lighter filing. And so what we've realized is that, we knew that Hemlock Road is owned by DCR. one of the land thresholds that MIPA lists in their regulations is requires an ENF is Article 97 land swap. So Article 97 is state legislation that protects open space and access to open space. So because Hemlock Road is owned by DCR, we assume that a land swap would be required. We've talked about swapping, you know, if you can think of the plan, we've talked about, you know, moving the roadway alignment up to align better with Nahant Road at Farm Street, right? And so there would be a swap of land. This land owned by DCR would potentially be turned over to the town, and the town would take their own land and turn it over to DCR so that their roadway would just be moved over. It does require state legislation to pass, and it also requires MIPA filing, this ENF lighter filing. I will say that MIPA regulations changed just a year ago. And so now that certain types of projects now are required to review this online mapping database and look at different types of environmental justice communities and populations close to your project site. And so if there are these environmental justice communities, they're based on ethnicity, access to English language, and income. So if your project is located in close proximity, it's within a mile radius of these environmental justice populations, and they're statewide, that you are automatically kicked up to the EIR world. And so in the case of the Hemlock Road relocation, the project site is within a mile of an identified environmental justice community. And so this land swap that would be somewhat straightforward at the state level would automatically be bumped to this EIR heavy, robust filing. It's not like MIPA would say yes or no, you can't do this, but they just require you to evaluate all of the environmental impacts and quantify any mitigation strategies, outline mitigation strategies that the project will undertake to mitigate any sort of environmental impact. Yeah. So okay, that's where we're at. We had Lorraine, Helen, and I had a meeting with MIPA. It was 2 weeks ago now, just to review and confirm our understanding of the new regulations, because they are just a year old with this new environmental justice mapping piece of the process. And so we just wanted to update the committee on what we've learned and what we understand may need to be required to pursue this the relocation of land to accommodate a new realigned Hemlock Road.
Do we have to pursue this? What if we don't relocate the road?
I would say as part of the high school project, relocating Hemlock Road is not required whatsoever. We've heard from day one that it is desired by the town. There are opportunities to improve safety, traffic calming along the stretch of the road. So we've heard that. We've even thought about that, you know, in the proposal phase of the project.
Well, do we know a cost impact? Do we know a cost impact
for the filing?
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's going to be a lot of research and everything else done. Do you bring in a company to do it? Do you guys do it? And if so, what's the cost?
Yes. So Lynn, I don't know if you want to speak specifically to that. We had recent experience on Waltham High School. We did do the filing. We filed. So you start at the ENF, and then you make your way through the process, and they made us file an ENF, then a draft EIR, DEIR, and then a final EIR and FEIR. That process took about 18 months to complete.
And it cost close to $1 million.
Sounds like a bargain.
I mean, to me, the moving of Hemlock Road has always been on the table as a benefit to a lot of things. The intersection, the traffic, I mean, it does sound like a lot to move. I don't know how many 100 yards of road, 400 yards maybe at the most. So I love the state and all its regulatory desires. This seems to be totally overblown to me. However, I think it's an important part of the project. So
it could be that we could file a project notification, and we might not have to go into the next phase, which is a environmental impact report. I think tonight we wanted to kind of update the PBC and have them recommend moving this forward to town council to see what is feasible. We were hoping that maybe a land swap with DCR might keep us from having to go through a full-blown environmental impact report. I don't know, but I think we may need them to weigh in on what's feasible.
So
Mr. Chimes, thoughts?
It's actually the release of land that requires the land swap. So that is one tricky thing. We did meet with MIPA and Lynn. This type of project, because our adjacency to the environmental justice population, it would require an EIR. There may be opportunities to streamline the permitting.
Where that population is?
It's within 1 mile. It's in town. Anyone can hop online to that mapper system. And
it's in Wakefield?
It is, yeah.
It is, Chip. It's, sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, please.
But it's sort of, if you head towards downtown, kind of along Water Street, that area is part of an environmental justice community.
Okay. News to me.
It's a recent designation. I mean, only in the last couple of weeks, I believe.
Oh, beautiful, of course. So, Jonathan, what do you think about, bringing this to town council, explaining what's going on? I'm assuming you're thinking town council as in Mr. Chimes, town council.
Well, I was going to ask, actually,
as in Mr. Mullen.
I think
it's both, really.
I think the first is to go to Mr. Mullen, I believe, is the process.
Okay, that town council.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would also maybe suggest, to the extent that there are some opportunities to look at, other grant programs through Complete Streets or other infrastructure funds that might be available. I mean, just given that this is, regardless of the status of the high school building project, I mean, this is sort of a pedestrian safety and a traffic safety issue as well that, at least in theory, we would potentially want to explore even if we weren't doing the high school project. And so I wonder if there may be other opportunities to look at addressing the intersection, through some other forums or other pools of state funding that we might be able to apply for.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess the other question I would ask the team we always were that this intersection was always problematic because of the Vogue, right? The Vogue's now going to have a new entrance. Does that change our thinking about this intersection? Does that, influence us at all? I don't know.
I mean, I think it still is a tricky intersection, just even to navigate it outside of, the hours when you have, students coming and going from the Vogue. Again, it feels to me like there's some opportunity here to look at a different traffic pattern there. Again, regardless of if the Vogue is building another road or where we are with the high school project. I mean, that's a sort of tricky intersection as in and of itself. It's hard for pedestrians to cross, and we do know it's one where pedestrians do cross. I think there's a lot going on there that probably warrants some work, both with Town Council Mullen, but also thinking through with the engineering department and others around. Again, are there state programs that we can leverage to look at that intersection differently?
Yeah, and we can also go to traffic advisory as well, because I'm sure they've got thoughts on it.
Any other comments?
Can we build our own road? Seriously, I know the site's tight. I don't have the plan in front of me, but couldn't we just build our own road to the high school and leave that road alone for only people who want to use it for other stuff?
I'm afraid we have to sacrifice parking. There's no room for it all, yeah.
Well, there's always a sky. Parking can always go up. So I'm not necessarily sold that you sacrifice parking because you take away the ground level. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I just, $1 million or whatever it would cost is a lot of money. for one road with very limited use to one public thing, the high school and some fields. I don't know. I just wonder what out of the box thinking is. It's such a red tape nightmare.
Bill, we would hope that we wouldn't have to go to the extent that they did in Waltham, and that we wouldn't have to expend that kind of money. But at this point, I don't think we really know. It sounds like so.
I think there's opportunities to streamline. So MIPA did open up the option. Maybe once we figure out what the project will pursue. There may be options to streamline the permitting with MIPA.
Yeah, I would. Mr. Chair, I would certainly recommend that we take this to the town council or Mr. Mullen.
All right, that's a motion.
Yeah, I move that we allow Lynn to have, would you and Lynn or whomever, you, Helen and Lynn, or you, Aaron and Lynn, or whomever should have the right group to talk to Tom about this and get his opinion.
I hear a second.
Second.
Any further discussion on this to refer it to town council, COUNSEL?
All right.
Anyone?
Could I just ask a related question, not related to your motion, if you want to close that first, though?
Are you asking a question regarding this motion?
No, not about the motion, but more about the MIPA process.
All right. Regarding the motion, or any other discussion? Hearing none. Phil?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Okay, Sandra, you had a question?
Yeah, I wondered how the MIPA process related to the design and engineering of the next phase, like how that impacts things. Can they run in parallel, or could this 12 to 18 month process ultimately delay the schedule on the design?
Aaron, can you answer that?
I think, it depends, I think, on the appetite to take on risk. I don't think that MIPA is going to say, no, you can't do this, but I think that there would need to be some advanced work done by the site team or our consultant to prepare these filings, and that takes time. And so with Waltham, we actually had a pause in the schedule where, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that the MIPA process actually held up construction because that schedule, there was time, to obtain those approvals.
It didn't hold up construction, but the city chose to expend the money in advance of getting MSBA approval for the second phase of the project, which is the design development through closeout of the project. So they funded it until they could get through the EIR process, because MSBA would not sign a project funding agreement until they had completed the EIR and the permitting process. So that you could run into that same issue as well, where if you have an open permitting issue or an EIR that is required before you can move forward, MSBA will hold up. They may approve the project, but they'll hold up a project funding agreement until it's resolved. So you could continue forward with the project, but you'd be paying for it until you completed the permit and received the project funding agreement with MSBA, and then they would start to reimburse.
Lynn, is there any advantage of just separating the two? It sounds like, based on what Chip said and what Aaron said, one thing doesn't, they make sense together, but they could also be done separately. Does it change anything to really segregate the two make them two projects?
If the town was willing to take on that as a separate project, that would certainly make it cleaner with MSBA. We could keep moving forward with the high school project, and it wouldn't, whatever happened with MIPA wouldn't impact the high school project schedule.
we wouldn't be getting reimbursed from MSBA anyway, right?
No. MSBA did reimburse Waltham on the $1 million.
Oh, they did?
What happened is that $1 million got included in the design, development, and construction document budget lines, and they did reimburse up to the eligible share.
So I think we're at the right time to start with Tom and go from there.
Right, right. There's a lot ahead of us.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we can start the exploration, but not necessarily the approval.
And certainly I
Joe,
think
sorry,
that,
just to add something to that.
Sorry, Jonathan, I didn't see it. Yeah.
No, that's okay. I just, there may be a benefit to separating out the projects in addition to the timeline if we were able to secure other state grant funding through Complete Streets or another source for the road work. And so I think that's part of the discussion with Town Council Mullen and you know, the town administrator and maybe others, just to brainstorm through, you know, what are some alternative pathways to think about exploring this. It may be beneficial to separate it both from timing and from a financial standpoint, especially if we could find a funding source that's going to pay more than 26%.
Okay.
I am concerned about separating it out. MIPA has very strict regulations about anti-segregation. You cannot segregate projects to bicep the process. So that has to be part of the discussion as well.
All right, well, at least we've started this. We've started by sending it to Town Council. Mr. Mullen. All right, Lynn, anything else? Anybody, any other questions or comments regarding the Hemlock Road?
When you mentioned a land swap, is there any chance the town would be interested in taking the road?
I don't know. I think that's interesting. It does provide, I think that is the only vehicular access to Breakheart.
Yes.
And so I'm not sure that
it
DCR.
won't right now, but when the vote does it,
access, yeah.
the vote will have new access to Breakheart.
But that's all private, town-owned property, right? They're not developed. I don't think the vote is establishing a new right of way,
yeah,
right?
Right. It would be the only access to the park.
Yeah.
From that group, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the visitor center is over on Saugus side. So
DCR
really,
said that's how they act. That's how they act. That's how Breakheart is accessed. I don't.
That's the park start, basically. That's the ranger station.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow this became the CDR road has always gone up there. So I don't think they'd be willing to give up that. I doubt.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? You can always ask, Chip.
Yep. You can always rip it up and say, "Whoops, sorry."
Whoops. Oh, we didn't mean to block that road. Sorry about that. Any other questions or comments? Jonathan.
Just another question on this. Is there space? I know there's the town owns a little bit more of the land immediately around sort of the outlet of Nahant Street. Is there a possibility of sort of realigning Nahant Street to aid in the intersection without touching Hemlock?
I think you might have to take residential properties to do that.
Yeah.
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 Because we've looked at, Jonathan, we've looked at realigning Nahant to go with the road, and it's not doable.
Okay.
We can drive through the leaf dump or something, maybe, and can head on over.
Wrong direction.
All right.
The only thing I have left on the agenda is the schedule.
You had questions, Chip, regarding the project schedule here?
Yeah, I just trying to figure out, next steps. As Helen had said, we really are no farther along in the design. Does that mean we wait till we get feedback from MSBA to start the design, putting rooms together, putting spaces, you know, what's SMMA's thinking and how do they proceed at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, the next step for sure is the actual submittal to MSBA. That's by May 4th, so a week from yesterday. And then after that happens, we're scheduled for a facilities assessment. Do I have this right? FAS, Facilities Assessment Subcommittee meeting with the MSBA.
And who attends that?
Yeah, we'll need district and town represented. I think we should talk more in depth about this at the leadership meeting on Wednesday when we have the slideshow pulled together for that. But that's where the MSBA gets to really, you know, ask some questions of the team before they bring the project to a vote towards the end of June. So it's June 22nd, correct, Lynn?
Yes.
And that at that time, that's when the MSBA is kind of approving the project to move forward. So those are some critical milestones once we submit.
And does the town attend the June 22nd date?
Well, they will be definitely attend either the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee meeting on the 18th or the 1st of June. They will have to attend that, and that's a more informal review of the project prior to going before the Board of Directors on the 22nd. For the 22nd, typically the town is there to say, thank you for moving us forward in the process. There's not much discussion on the project at that point. All of the discussion on the project takes place at the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee meeting.
And are these meetings Zoom or in person these days?
They're all Zoom.
All Zoom. And how long does that meeting usually take? An hour or two, or?
It's about an hour.
So they don't get that in depth.
No, but they have the PSR. They reviewed the PSR. They spend some time with us prior to the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee meeting, reviewing what is important to present, you know, things that people may have questions on. So we'll put together a presentation for them, but they've all reviewed the PSR at that point prior to coming to the meeting. So they'll be talking about the issues that are important to them, or, you know, or bring up issues they think are of concern.
And they will have given you a heads up on that, is what you're saying.
Sometimes not.
Sometimes.
Not necessarily. Some of the group members, you know, have their own areas of interest. Exactly. So I've been, you know, to some of these meetings where, you know, one member who's an architect is really interested in outdoor classrooms. And so, you know, she might delve into that particular topic. So you really don't know what they're going to ask. But we'll make sure we have our presentation nice and tight, and you know, who's going to speak to which slides.
Okay, anything else, Lynn?
No, that's all. We're going to make our submission on May 4th, and hopefully.
So just because I'm still not clear on what happens from a design standpoint, because we submit on 5/4.
Mm-hmm.
Then the team starts putting together and getting ready for the meeting with the MSBA, or do we start designing? What does SMMA do for the next month?
Well, initially they start getting ready for the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee meeting.
Yeah.
So really no design is going to happen until after MSBA either moves us forward or they don't.
Unless you want to request that they proceed, you know, you already have appropriated the schematic design money, so you could ask that they proceed in advance of MSBA.
And what does that do to schedule? Because it seems to me like we have a long downtime coming up.
It is a long downtime, and it would help the schedule, certainly. to move forward into schematic design, but again, it's somewhat at risk. Personally, I don't think it's much of a risk, but it is a risk.
And SMMA, Helen, Brian, Erin, what do you guys want to do? Take a break?
We're likely going to continue to delve into some of the questions around systems that we've started, but kind of have put to the side to kind of meet some of these deadlines. So we're still going to be working, but we're going to be working knowing that we have these milestones ahead of us, you know, these formal approvals. So I'm telling you that we're not going to totally put our pencils down, but at this moment, you know, we're going to try to work smart. I think one thing we'll want to do early in schematic design is to meet with Doug and his team and, you know, have another look at the space summary. We'll get comments. That's the other thing. We're going to get comments back on the PSR. Will we get them before the FAS meeting, Lynn? If we meet on the 18th, we wouldn't, right?
No, no.
See, that would be sort of a critical thing. We got a lot of information when we saw the comments back from PDP, right? They came out pretty strong on the whole field house issue. So I'll be very curious to see where they land with some of the other square footage that we still have in the plan. That's the other risk here, is making sure we understand again that the town is fully on board with that additional square footage being funded 100%, right?
So it says here on the schedule 5/18 or 6/1.
Right.
Yep.
Do you know which one yet or not?
We don't know yet. They're asking that we provide the presentation for the facilities assessment subcommittee meeting pretty quickly here after May. I think it is actually due May 4th as well. So once they receive that and they take a look at that and they look at our PSR, they'll quickly assign us to one of those dates. So we should know shortly after May 4th which of those dates.
So you made actually my kind of joking that you're going to have some downtime. You're really not. Two weeks goes away real quickly here in the beginning of May if you get the 18th. And if you get the 1st, that's only another 2. So it's really not a horrible length of time.
It's not, and it gives us time to both receive and react to what those comments back to us are in the PSR. I think that's a pretty critical piece here. Putting aside the FAS meeting, you know, seeing what those comments might be and making decisions about how to move smartly forward into schematic design. Schematic design, at the end of which you set your budget and that's it for the rest of the project. So schematic design is pretty critical.
All right.
And at what point do we pick, sorry, Joe, at what point do we pick our, where are we at with the,
CM at risk?
Yeah, the CM at risk.
We have that on the schedule. I think we're looking to go out somewhere around the end of May. Basically have them selected by July so that we can get them on by the end of July so that we can get them on board for the schematic design pricing exercise.
Just for the pricing, not for discussion on constructability and all that stuff.
Right. I mean, they will have, you know, they'll start attending meetings and have input as well, but
so when are you, I'm sorry, did you say when you were going to go out for that?
yeah, I was just trying to look at.
A real date?
Pulling up the schedule so I can tell you the real date. Sorry.
And Chip, we submit schematic design to the MSBA October 27th. And that's in preparation for a board vote at the end of December. So, you know, kind of working back from there.
Yeah. Thank you. It's amazing to me how quickly time flies.
Exactly, very true.
You know, it sounds like a long time away now, and all of a sudden,
right,
we're going to be into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know things slow down a little bit during the summer. We do like people to get, well, some people get vacations, God forbid.
Oh, we don't.
Yeah, okay. Brian's already figuring out his 6 weeks off. I know.
He's not going anywhere. Yeah, no, we're going to be pretty busy through the summer. So we'll want to meet with you all in the summer.
Perfect.
Great.
Right,
So,
Lynn? Yeah.
yes.
You have the CM at risk? And
yes, actually, a little bit sooner than. No,
I saw the end of.
I'm trying to get it to the right spot here. Here we go. Starting with the process next week on May 2nd, and putting out the RFQ on the 19th of May, and asking for statements of qualifications to be due on May 19th, I guess, actually. And then going through a qualification process May 20th through the 10th. We may adjust that time frame a little bit and give a little bit more time for the response to the RFQ. But pretty much by the end of June, beginning of July, we should have a CM on board.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions regarding schedule? Anything else? Any other matters? Anyone? Dr. Lyons, is he still there?
Still here, Joe, no questions.
Yeah. All right, just checking, making sure you're still awake there. We're watching. All right.
Anyone else? It's in the back of the room.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you're used to that, Chip.
Absolutely. No, I fell asleep right in the front.
All right. So I hear a motion to adjourn.
It is so moved.
So moved, and click leave meeting.